Hello everyone, welcome to another video on this series on Copilot agents. My name is Bharat.
Hi, this is Anubhav.
We both are cloud solution architects at Microsoft. Uh, if you would have gone through our previous videos, we had covered an overview on the various types of agents that are possible using Copilot. And we also did a quick run through on building a declarative agent using Copilot Studio. In today's Snackable, we are going to build the same declarative agent using Visual Studio Code. Just to quickly run you through the agenda, we will be walking you through how to build declarative agents using Visual Studio Code. And we'll also be adding a couple of knowledge sources and actions. The the idea is to exactly replicate building the same agent that we built in the previous session using Copilot Studio. So if you recollect in the previous video, like what we'd done was we created a declarative agent that was able to point to or get information from a SharePoint source and a graph connector, and finally also from a real-time connection from ServiceNow. So we're going to be creating the same agent with those same three capabilities, but this time using Visual Studio Code. So you can compare how you can go about configuring the agents using the different approaches. Just a quick recap, 1 minute on this one. The two types of Copilot agents that we have, either declarative agents or custom agents. So declarative agents are the agents that basically extend the capability of Microsoft 365 Copilot. So you're using the same orchestrator and the LLM, but you are giving a specific focus to that agent by saying only look at these knowledge sources or perform this kind of actions that the agent is configured to do. But at the same time, if you were to look at custom engine agents, these are agents where you can have your own orchestrator as well as your own language model. Uh, the current episode is focusing on declarative agents. In When we talk about declarative agents, there are multiple ways in which you can create these declarative agents. You could either have SharePoint agents, which are basically agents that you can build looking at content on a SharePoint site. You could also build agents using the Copilot Studio Builder, which is existing within the Microsoft 365 Copilot or Teams. So where on the right-hand side, you get an option to create an agent. As you want more control and more flexibility in terms of features, is where you would look at building an agent using Copilot Studio or VS Code. So today's episode, we will be building the declarative agent using VS Code. Anubhav is going to be running through this entire process for today, replicating the same steps, as in, if I may say, creating an agent using the same capabilities as we had in the previous session. So over to you, Anubhav.
All right, so we have opened our Visual Studio Code. Here, as you can see, I have kept it ready with the extension, which is Teams Toolkit. That's one of the primary prerequisites before we start, working on this. So make sure that when you are trying to, create any of the agents, Teams Toolkit is installed. And once you install, you will get this icon on the left rail, which basically contains all the buttons for building the applications. So I'm gonna go ahead and create a new app. So here you can see we have the options of declarative agent, custom engine agent, and rest of the other stuff. So I'm gonna go ahead and select declarative agent. Now, you know, it provides us with the option of no action, which is like by default, it gives me the choice to create an empty declarative agent, or if in case I have got an action which I want to add. So here, because we are trying to cover up something like, as an example, we wanted to try and test with ServiceNow. Okay, so what we have done is we are going to select this action, and we have the other options, which is start a new API, start with an OpenAPI description document, or import an existing action. What we are trying to do is we have the ServiceNow's OpenAPI document, so we'll select that option, and we can just select the file. So here I'm gonna go to downloads. Let me select this YAML file, and so you can see here that it provides me with all the options that it could find. within the OpenAPI schema. So it has got articles, it seems like articles, get articles, and then you have featured and most viewed. So I'm going
So
to
it's
select,
Anubhav, so if I just add some more detail,
yeah.
so those four functions that are available in the YAML file, the first one is basically to search across articles within the knowledge base.
Hmm.
The second one is where, if in case you are aware of the ID of the knowledge base article, you can share an ID and it will go ahead and do that search on those lines. The third and the fourth are basically again features within the ServiceNow knowledge base, wherein if you can mark certain articles as featured. So once that happens, if you were to click on, if the agent were to run that featured articles, it would show up those articles that have been promoted. And the last one is the most viewed, so which is basically going by the number of views that an article has had.
Yeah. All right. So now that we have selected all of these buttons, I can click on OK. And now it's gonna ask me for where I want to put. So let me just select the default as fine. I'm just gonna give here as, let me give IT help desk agent. All right, so now it has scaffolded a new project, which is IT help desk agent. And as you can see, it has created my VS code with that particular project. So let me close the existing one. Okay, so now this is a brand new window. So if you look at this, uh, if I click on the Teams Toolkit extension, okay, so by default now you can see the entire structure has changed, has provided me with different options, which is like accounts, environment, development, lifecycle, utility, help, and feedback. So before we start on this, what you need to ensure is that you have an account which has Copilot access enabled, as well as custom app upload enabled. These are the two settings that your admin needs to provide to you in terms of your settings. Okay, so now see what we need to do is we can go to the Explorer and we can see this is the file structure. Okay, so if you look at this, it creates the all of these files. So by default, how do we know it's a Teams toolkit? I mean, it's a declarative agent. So the first entry point is the manifest.json. So whenever you create any application, not just a declarative agent, but let's say an application which is even a Teams toolkit application, I mean for Teams, that's also going to have a manifest. So this manifest.json file resides in the app package directory. Okay, and it contains this declaration. I mean, it contains a whole lot of stuff wherein it says who's the developer, the ID, the name of the application, and everything. But the most important thing that tells that okay, this manifest represents a declarative agent is this. So it has got Copilot agents declared within it, and within this Copilot agents, I can see declarative agents, and this declarative agents basically says that the declarative agent is referenced, I mean the information of this particular declarative agent is referenced within the declarative agent.json file. So let's head back there. If I come here to this declarative agent.json, you can see that it has given, this is the schema that it follows. So it has provided me with schema, the version, name, so the name of the declarative agent, the description, what it does, the instruction, which basically is contained within the instruction.txt file. We'll get back to it after some time. Then we have actions and conversation starters. Now, let me come back to actions a little bit later in a minute. So see, this is the conversation starter section. So if you look at any agent, even when you go with Copilot agent or anything, it provides you with some starter prompts. So these are nothing but the starter prompts. Okay, so you can provide it here and it's gonna give you that. And as you can see, because we had provided the ServiceNow API using the OpenAPI schema, what it did is it could identify and it has extracted the information from the description within that particular schema, and it has created a starter prompts based on that. And all of the information necessary, which was for that particular ServiceNow plugin, so it has created and added it in a file called AI plugin.json. All right, so this is the the vanilla declarative agent that was already scaffolded now. Now what I'll do is, before we jump onto the AI plugin, let me just quickly modify the description of this particular agent. So let me copy and paste it here. All right, so description is IT expert with knowledge around IT related topics like Copilot network and security policy, IT tools, compliance, etc. Okay, so this is the description now that I've set it for the declarative agent. So let's jump to, okay, let me just save this. Yeah. Okay, so let's jump quickly to AI plugin.json. As you can see here, this is scaffolded on the basis of the OpenAPI, right? So what you can see here is that it has given the name for human. I think I need to give description for human also over here. If you do not give, because it's part of the schema, it's gonna throw you an error.
Yep. And it can be the same as name for human.
Yeah.
As in, you can just add some more description there if you want, or we can maybe bring in the same description from the one that we had in the declarative agent.json as well. Some
Yeah. And you know what? It has got another section which is functions. So as you can see here, what it did is it understood what are all the functions available in the OpenAPI file. So it has got search articles, get article by ID, the get featured article, and get most viewed articles. These are the same functions that we saw when we were creating the agent. So these four functions have been defined, and then we have another section which is called runtime. Within this runtimes, we can see here type is OpenAPI. Auth is set to none. I'll just get back in a minute to that. We have the spec, which is the OpenAPI YAML. I'll even open that and show you guys. And then we have run for functions. So as you can see, the run for functions list all of the four functions which are defined within the functions. So what happens is all the functions which are defined within these run for functions, all right, these are the only functions that Copilot is going to touch. I mean, your declarative agent is going to touch. But in case you miss providing this particular run for functions, then what it'll do is it's going to go ahead and use all of the functions defined within the functions parameter.
Yep. So if for this agent you just wanted the search articles, for example, you can just take off the other three function calls, and then the agent would only have access to the search articles function while it is making any wherever it finds that there's a need to make any call using this API.
Yeah. And then let's quickly jump to the OpenAPI.yaml file. So as you can see, it has created another folder called API specification file inside the app package folder, and we have the OpenAPI.yaml. This is the YAML file which was extracted based on the file that we had selected. You need to keep in mind that the server's URL is set because this is the base URL that will be utilized by the OpenAPI. Okay, and also you have to look at other thing is each of the functions that have been defined has a parameter called operation ID. This is the same ID that is being used in the AI plugin.json. Let me just quickly
In the run for functions, yeah.
yeah, let me quickly maybe make it more, let me try to increase the font size just in case. I hope this is better. Okay, so this is the search articles like Bharat mentioned. So these are all the parameters that have been defined, and you can see operation ID is provided over here, and all of these operation ID is being utilized for run for functions and the function definition. So here search articles, same way, so get article by ID, featured articles, and most viewed articles. All right, now you know that this is ServiceNow, right? I mean, it's an instance, it's not gonna be allowing you to run directly. You need to have some sort of authentication. Now here, when it created this particular AI plugin.json using the OpenAPI file, it doesn't know what is the authentication type. It doesn't understand. So by default, it sets the type as none. But if I remove this, I can see that the specification can be set to API key plugin vault or even OAuth plugin vault. Now I'm going to set it to OAuth plugin vault, but how exactly does that work? So it expects another parameter, which is reference underscore ID. Now, in order to get this reference underscore ID, we have to head to dev.teams.microsoft.com. Let me take you there.
It's basically the reference ID of from the vault, from the OAuth vault that is available within the developer portal.
Yeah. And this is the developer portal. As I said, dev.teams.microsoft.com. When you come here, you can see all the apps that you have created within this particular account. You have tools. So this is where we are gonna do. We come here to tools section, and within this we have auth client registration. So once I come here, you will be presented with a screen which will list all your existing client registration, and it will even allow you to add a new one. Okay, so let me just see. All right, so as you can see here, it has listed my existing one. So let me just click on new auth client registration to just run you through. Oops. All right, so as you can see, it provides you with the option to enter the registration name. It's just for your descriptive purposes. And then you have the base URL, you have the what do you call the restriction, if in case you want your API access to be restricted to a specific organization or any other organizations, because see, you can create an application or declarative agent and publish it to marketplace. So that's where it is getting utilized. You can even restrict by app. You have a lot of those configurations available, but the primary and most important thing that you need to know is you need to enter client ID, client secret, the authorization endpoint, token endpoint, and refresh endpoint. And in some cases, for some of the open APIs, for some of the OAuth registration, you need to even provide scope. Now keep in mind that these settings are generally provided to you in our case because it's ServiceNow. So the admin of the ServiceNow will create an app and provide you with all of these parameters so that you can set it over here. So let's go back to our existing one so that I can just show you the one which we have pre-filled. So as you can see here, I have already set, so this is the base URL. I have given the client ID, the secret, and all of the other required parameters. And once you hit save, you're presented with this registration ID. And this is the same ID we basically copy, and we need to go back to our code and we can enter the reference ID over here. And that's it. So it basically sets your, API with the OpenAPI, OAuth plugin vault. So now, if you look at it, when you ask a question to declarative agent and when it tries to execute any of these functions, it knows that okay, the OpenAPI is set with authentication, which is being referenced from the OAuth plugin vault, and so it automatically sets your API calls with whatever it is required for the authorization level and authentication purposes. All right, so now that this is done, let's go back to our declarative agent. And because I had already mentioned that we will go to the instruction, so the instructions part, as you can see, it is referencing a file. So the idea is that if you have your instructions, which is just a single line, you can provide it here, or better yet, provide it if you have multi-line instruction, provide it in the instruction.txt. So let me go here. You can see it's already provided with a normal instruction. So I'm gonna,
That's a basic template, I guess, that it always comes up with
yeah,
when you create a new agent.
yep. And so I'm gonna update it with this. Thank you, Bharat. He has done wonders with the instruction.txt. All right, so I have saved all of these, and what we need to do is, now that we have worked everything, let's go to Teams Toolkit, and the only way to test it is click on provision. So let me just click on provision quickly.
So just as a quick recap, now the agent, we set the instructions on what we want the agent to do, how the persona that it should have. We have validated that the YAML file has the reference to the instance, the ServiceNow instance. Also, we validated that the operation ID within the YAML file matches that in the action.json, and we also added the reference ID for the OAuth registration that we just did. So that way, the authorization bit is taken care of. So connection is, if I may say, to ServiceNow is taken care of, and the instructions as well for the agent to function are also covered.
Yeah. Um, so as you can see, uh, while Bharat was explaining, what I did is I had already clicked on provision, right? And you can see here it says 5 of 5 actions in provision stage executed successfully. So that means that my IT help desk agent should be present now within the Copilot. So I ran it, I refreshed, and what I got is IT help desk agent available here. So I can click on it, and you can see here I've got the starter prompts already set over here. So let me just click on get featured articles. So ideally, yeah, this is what I was expecting. So because this is the first time I'm trying to do, I mean, any action that it needs to execute, it's gonna go ahead and ask you to allow. So I'm just gonna hit always allow.
So what's going to happen now is in the background, it will try to establish a connection with ServiceNow. So I guess we should be seeing a pop-up asking us to log into the ServiceNow instance.
Yeah,
Yep.
this
Okay. So first the sign in comes up. Yeah.
yeah, this is what we were expecting. I mean, ideally because it's a OAuth, right? So it should open up a window for me. And yes, so it has opened a window and asking me to sign in. Okay. All right, so I've entered the credentials. Let's hit login. And as you can see, it's gonna ask me to connect to the ServiceNow instance. I'm just gonna hit allow.
So this is going to happen the first time when you're trying to establish a connection. So once the connection is established, then it will continue with the authorization that it already has based its our credentials.
And as you can see, we executed get featured articles. So it has brought in the details from the featured articles. And because I have the debug mode on, so which is done with minus developer on. So you need to, if you have not enabled, you need to give develop minus developer on and hit enter. So it's going to enable your developer mode. So because that is executed, I can see here an option to visit and see the debug info. Based on this, I can see that it has gotten uh, the execution was done for get featured articles. First time it failed because it was asking for the login, and the second time it basically ran through. And as you can see, it has provided me with the responses and everything that has come up from the ServiceNow. All right, so this basically shows that I am able to connect to the actions successfully from the ServiceNow instance. Okay, now let's head back. So now that we were able to perform this, if you remember our previous video where in the Copilot Studio, we had used SharePoint as well as a graph connector as the knowledge sources. So we'll be doing the same over here.
So we're basically trying to replicate the same use case as we had last time. That's having an agent that can point to a SharePoint as well as a graph connector as a knowledge source, and in real time get information from ServiceNow. Just that we've turned it around as in the steps, because while creating an agent, it already gives you an option to create an action using an OpenAPI spec. So we've started off with that option, and now we are getting into configuring the knowledge sources.
Yeah. And in order to ensure that, I mean, to configure it properly, what we have to do is we have to come to SharePoint. You have to ensure that you have a site. If you do not have, you can click on create site, and then click on team site and click a standard team. And you need to use that template to, create a new site. So what we have done is I have already gone ahead and created a new site. Okay. And in this particular site, what you need to do is you have to create a new document library. Okay, so when you create a new document library, you need to provide, you can say blank library and provide with certain details. So once you do, you will be provided with the document library. So in our case, we have created a IT docs, and it contains all the necessary files. So we have already uploaded the files and they are present over here. So now that we already have our SharePoint service ready, what I'm going to do is you need to copy the URL. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead first and select this particular URL, keeping it handy. Okay, let's head back to our code. Okay, so you can see here we have the conversation starters and actions. These are the two parameters that have been set, right? So let's go ahead and add capabilities to our declarative agent. So once I go ahead and select capabilities, I am presented with an array of capability object. So here what I'll do is I'll again try to give let Copilot help me out over here. So the first thing I can do control space, and I can see here name, URLs, knowledge sources. So I'm just going to give here name. Okay, so the name basically defines what are all the type of capabilities available to me. So this name, you can see here, it has gotten increased like from 2 or 3 capabilities to so many available nowadays. So you can see here code interpreter, Dataverse, email, graph connectors, graphic card, OneDrive and SharePoint, people, Teams messages, web search. So I'm going to use OneDrive and SharePoint. All right, and to use this, what I need is either you can provide items by SharePoint IDs or by URL. So I'm going to select by URL, and I need to provide it with the parameters. So if you see here, it automatically tells you that you need to provide an URL. Don't trust the the automatically when it is coming up, because at times it fetches the data it doesn't understand and gives you with a whole bunch of stuff.
Sample information. Yeah.
Yeah, so I have already pasted this. Now, apart from this, also we wanted to show you the graph connector, right? So I'm just gonna hit enter over here again, and let's start with another object. This time I'm just gonna give your name as graph connectors. And here again, you can see I have got connections. There's an array. In this, it expects a connection ID. Now, how do we get the graph connector, right? So in order to get this, we have to go back to our Teams, our admin for Microsoft, which is
Microsoft Admin Center.
admin.microsoft.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you have to go to admin.microsoft.com. Here you have to click on settings, then come to search and intelligence. So this is the place where you can define your enterprise data connection. So I can click on data sources. I've already created it over here. Okay, if you want, you can click on add connection, and you can fill in the you can select your there are various data sources available to you. You can select your connector of your choice and fill in the required details. So let's go back, and you can
Possible.
see. Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt, Anubhav. Possible that this may again be an activity that you may have to ask your admins to do for you, as in create a graph connector that can ingest the information that you want into graph that you can use as part of these agents.
Exactly. I
In
mean,
our case, yeah.
No, sorry. Please go ahead.
No, saying in our case we have a test tenant, so that's why we have access to the admin center from where we are able to configure.
Exactly. And you need to keep in mind that I mean, there are various settings for which I mean, the moment you start, um, you know, changing stuff in the admin center and all of these, you need your admins to be present. I mean, they have to help you out with any of those settings.
Yeah.
So now you can see here, I have already provided this, we have created this connection for the, let me just, so this is the enterprise side. So this is the data source. Let me just open this.
It's just a sample site which has some bare minimum information just to showcase how information can be ingested from a website into graph.
Yeah, I mean, basically, see, we have connected to what do you call the ServiceNow. Okay, we also have connected to SharePoint. But let's say you have another website, or maybe because of your third-party integration with something, you have another set of place where your some information is available. So we have got a couple of KB articles over here. For example, this one, which is basically resolving device enrollment issues and all. So these are all, I mean, doesn't matter whether this is real or not, but what matters is we have defined it over here. You can see that it has the crawling is already done. The crawl status was done. Items index says 4. and it says status as green, so it's already done. So if you look at here, you can see here we have got connection ID, and this is the connection ID that the declarative agent capability is expecting. So I'm just gonna head back there. In the capability of graph connectors, I can go ahead and provide this connection, so it knows where to look at. Now that we have updated this, let's ensure that this is running. So we have to go back to our instruction, and let's quickly update it.
To include the new knowledge sources that we have added.
Yeah, so earlier it was only using, like, for example, search articles. Now it has got OneDrive and SharePoint and graph connectors. I mean, yeah, you can write a whole lot of story to ensure that your declarative agent is actually working and is understanding what you're trying to do. So now that
So,
we
so
have,
the idea with these set of instructions, sorry to interrupt, Anubhav, the idea with these set of instructions is to uh, get the agent to first look at SharePoint as a knowledge source, followed by your graph connector, and then look into calling the real-time API from ServiceNow and getting the information from the ServiceNow knowledge base.
exactly.
So you can define the instructions the way you would like it to be.
And now that we have modified all the changes, all we need to do is again hit provision. So, right, when we were doing all of these testing or even all of these changes, we were able to test using the test button within the Copilot Studio. Whereas in case of the instance with VS Code, you need to click on provision every time.
Local test is not possible when you're building an agent using Visual Studio Code. You have to provision it into Teams and try it out. Unlike
Exactly.
Copilot Studio.
Oops, some connection timed out. Let me just click provision again. Okay, so provision was successful. Let's jump back to our Teams. Let me just hit refresh. All right, so now we'll again click on the agent. Let's see if still the get featured articles is working. Okay, so it is working as expected, but you can see here it has got new capabilities added, which is OneDrive and SharePoint, as well as Graph Connector. So it's able to list them as well now, right? All right, so let's go and test one of the prompts for
SharePoint?
yeah. Okay. So ideally, it should be able to fetch the response from the documents present within the SharePoint knowledge base.
Repository. Yeah.
Okay, so you can see here it is referencing the citations are pointing to Teams KB and the IT network and security policy documents, which is present within the SharePoint knowledge base. And even you can see here it has executed capabilities, but it couldn't find anything in the graph connector, but it was able to find it in the OneDrive and SharePoint.
Maybe we can also try a graph connector as well to see if that connection is worked.
Yeah, let me. Right, let's try with the graph connector.
Nice. Looks like it's got the information for us. It's giving the citations as well. Yeah.
Yeah, so it is coming from the graph connector that we have
Maybe
set up.
yeah. Maybe we can just click on one of those links just to. Yeah.
So this was the same demo one which we had done earlier. Okay, so it's KB102, and that's where it is going to. Right, so basically what we did is we showed you how we were able to connect with the actions initially for ServiceNow, and then we even connected with SharePoint as well as a graph connector for as a knowledge source for this declarative agent.
Yeah. So we kind of built the same capabilities that we did using the declarative agent that we built using the Copilot Studio in the previous video.
Yeah. So in the upcoming sessions, we will be looking into the other capabilities that were defined within the declarative agent. So stay
Using
tuned
VS
for
Code.
yeah.
Yep. Hope you found this video useful. Stay tuned. Thank you.
Thank you.